Hello everyone, this is Michael, and thank you for being flexible with us here in this professional development. As I explained in the email, unfortunately I'm out of town for January 14th. We're supposed to get together, hopefully the introduction to our group, as well as using videos to walk us through differentiation. So without too much further ado, we'll go ahead and jump in there. So if you're watching this, then you've already joined a group, and the join code is UDMU78. We have a few sessions still upcoming. The next session is actually scheduled to be on. So that was scheduled for January 26th. We'll have that posted in advance of January 27th. So I'll send out an email letting you know the new one is posted, and check in the group. You're welcome to jump on that development as soon as it's available. Then we'll be back together looking at multiple intelligences on February 9th, and then kind of bounce and forth between face-to-face and online sessions. So hopefully this is a format that will, with your busy schedules, start work from our other professionals talk about throughout this meeting. It's important to schedule time, or otherwise it becomes one of the things that we all do way too late at night. And so hopefully you'll be able to put this in as an after school, kind of just like you would any other professional development. When we think about differentiation, we remember that differentiation is not a do, it's rather a way to think about how we do what we do. So a techniques used. Today we're going to look at compacting our rhythm and then working the tiering and hopefully the strategy. Look at certain strategies, really differentiate, recognizing that we can't do the same thing to all children and so we can do the same thing for two adults and expect something like to have. So, we recognize that there are differences, things have to equal them, but for the kids that we start generally speaking, we're looking at how we make them accessible for our kids at a struggle where they happen to be high achieving in order to get. So we're going to spend a little bit of time catching up from session 1, but before we get there, let me pull up our agenda here. I've updated it for today, so we'll flip over here, and we'll see that in a little bit of time. I left the time zone here because obviously we're scheduled to be. We look at curriculum compact for a few minutes, and we're going to jump into tiering. We're looking at some specific examples, and you answer one of those that is most beneficial to you and to around with that kind of deadline for the session. And then we'll look at a few strategies towards the end and make sure we're all on with our next couple sessions. So you should have received. Let me pull up our image here. You should have received a packet in the courier, or it's on its way to you. And in that packet are all the handouts for today. So as the document camera comes up here, let me pull this way over here. You should have a packet that has all the information and all the examples for the tiers. If you happen to be missing one of these, just let me know, and we'll be glad to fill that for you. So again, we are done. We'll let the camera here. It's just a little bit because we got too many things on. But in that packet are probably 50 different pages. You'll notice on our agenda there we have a variety of files. Each of those files is also located in our Noto group. So if some of these are used to you, I encourage you to download them from group. You pull down those files. If they're on the probably because, like I say, these are specific for K-1 through 5, 6, 8, 9, 12. If you have a notes teacher, you find that several different things work for you. And if you happen to be a K2 teacher, there might only be one or two of them ever used. Let me jump in. We'll go back to our presentation. Sure, we'll save it. Working live on the computer, right? So let's just take a second to go back and remember something during the we spoke as the mindset, and that it's a choice that we make as teachers. We also talk about the strategy of having right, because we know we've got to have fun for kids when they realize they're done with this. So the anchor activity that piece that a student can go to and be something journals, be right draw, but it can also be something very fun. It can be a big book, it can be something that writing a new paper. So we use those examples in the first session. And once remember that that's one that kind of has to be in place for run a differentiating room. Kids have some meaning for them. They can go back. We also spoke a little about curriculum compacting quite a little today. Looking at, I believe that without anchor activity, curriculum compact, differentiation is just a series of tasks or procedures. So I'm going to look carefully at who has to do which has to be involved in the lesson of each. How side which doesn't have to be involved in every single lesson. So look at curriculum compactor for a few minutes today. More anchoring activities need to be engaged for kids. They need to be things to do. We should have a link in the last time I'll pop up here again for you. They need to be specific. They don't always have to, but kids do need to know that this is what I do and this is I can go. I go to another space room, or do I have this at my dad's? This is legitimate. We as teachers to doing. We do have to think of them. This link again in our group. I like the different possibilities, subject and content, knowing that everybody is comfortable. Every teacher is comfortable doing the same types of activities. So make sure that we're professionals, or differentiate for ourselves in terms of what we're to assess, or what we're left to do, and what we're not comfortable with. I do love this last question, though. That is, if selecting a good anchor activity could really be for any lesson. If I'm selecting a good anchor activity, probably address the issue of what professional will do if they were learning more about topics. So what would a social scientist do? What would a newspaper reporter, somebody that's actually in the do with this information? So we touched on compacting in session 1, but I want to spend a little bit of time looking at tail around along with anchor activities. To me, it's probably one of the keys, a meaningful differentiated clean. It's not easy to clean all the time, but it's one of the foundations in place. In curriculum, I'm trying to decide who are the kids that have some or perhaps all of the information we're about to teach. You can put the visuals, something that's big, comping something that's so the amount of time on this concept to do is decide if you know that, well, you can spend this time, you may only need to spend, and so you're with the maker of that. Isn't this thing that kids need to like this? What it is doing is like I'm going to teach all kids to present to them. So to give kids time for things they're interested in. Sometimes if we teach an interesting thing, often it's not all kids. So teach kids that you do this, but inside it's much more college life. If I get back in the house, then I can watch tea. Then just having tea walking is a little bit more mood for me, and then you can see analogy in the class. So some of these are the original research on compacting. This is from the same type done over. Which basically already know. There's no sense in a class or how do we stream and the kid and we can think of ourselves that there are some things we might see one and we're good with it and move on. Things we need to repeat it or again. Anything goes there. Things are good to pick up on. Or intuitively, when kids are just fast in those. What we're trying is to buy time for it and to engage around it for them. And also make it more realistic too. We know behaviors, right? If we ask you, name what would you expect to see a child needs compacting? Well, probably a kid who fishes early, who gets at home on the leave. It may just be again, not every kid is supposed to become competent, but a lot of kids who are burdened may just be to move on. They may pace pick up, they can stay into what's going on. They may create versions, they entertain themselves during class, but they always seem to do great. The misconception is that you're compacting are the straight A students. It's not true. How many straight A's may be hard at it? I might be maybe because I'm not really interested in teaching myself. But some people well, if they do that again, I'm a hint to it. They ask questions, it just says, okay, probably than most of the others. Other kids seek them out, come to find them. Other kids, some can make daydream. I've already made a lot of benefit of compacting, or we're trying to make that to a word on the why do I have to throw it again? So are we going to do, or how do we compact? Well, first step in any compact process, any of us, make yourself in a position, if asked to do something that I'm kind of already know. How is it going to modify for me? First, I have to figure out what do you know, right? So first, have to be some form of assessment. By no means does assessment mean be test or multiple choice and get a quiz on everything we're about to do. What we're looking for is how do I figure know? And we can do that with our kids, not necessarily a test. There are times that might be the way to teach through, but thinking of other strategies saying keys. That first step, I've got to know what I know, so then I know where to take them. Once I know what the child already knows about to learn, I'm going to go, how can I streamline what maybe it's this way? Do I just flip videos? Do I give an article read and try to fill in some gaps? But I remember that just because you're intelligent or just because you're achieving, that you ought to know some instruction, but it doesn't need as much. We have several pieces of we've seen as an example of this, or if we go articulation, we can't simply set kids up and say, we'll find next year. We as professionals have to have these conversations about, well, if I accelerate the decision that impact future, and that doesn't mean content accelerate, it might mean some of the talks, right? So I'm going to determine what does this child know, and then I've got to keep records so that I know if this child is he knows. I'm going to look at content. They're going to learn this, and they're going to want to show their peers. They may not impact any part of the rest of the class group. When we have the 3 P with compact, we've got to know what we're going to team successful. We have to line like it and figure out how to try that. That leads us into sometimes not 1, 2, they're like compact. It's 1, 2, but another strategy when you should the assignment. It's okay, right? These being the part of this part, maybe is what I want every day. This piece on that part a little smaller, so it's for all already. Some of my kids may be able to just send them back down to that level. Maybe over here. That's kind of the concept of teaching our assignment. Have these 3 levels. We know that this profession is focused on dramatics. Look at an example of that. 5 examples, 8 and 9, 12. All it's nice to stick within the same domain at least. To talk about, we're with them here over the minutes. I like to think about one of these. Would you try to convince your child? It could be with students that you work with. Maybe that you share this idea. Know that sometimes the top professional development will always line up with. And so figure out a way to teach your figure each one have 3 teachers. And there's kind of a base tier that kids, background fish, and might sort of teacher. And the middle tier is probably great, an accelerated tier. And often this setup is for our kid, getting individual or group. Sometimes a year where that really highly rigorous is the most help from us as a teacher and makes them the most able to do on their own with support. So look at these, going to hopefully be able to flip back with the document and look at the docs if we can. We'll put them up. And before I jump into that, let's see if we can pull up our website here for our group, just because I want to make sure that everybody knows that on our group, I call it computers. Yours may look slightly different because I'm sure. But in our Moto group, you see both the posts up. But you should either folders with it, or in your library back up here, you should pull down the files that go along with the section, all the other. Save us a bunch of posts all over the place, full files in there right now. Some of them are named a little funny. I apologize for that. That's kind of the way that the ones that is the page numbers. You'll notice on some of the folder that will have a page that you can here today. You have to the actor in your Moto group as well. So we've talked a little bit about teaching. It probably sounds familiar if you think about scouting. We've used that term education for a long time, of course. And again, being we can structure our learning goals so that kids at different levels achieve them. Steering is a form of scaffolding for sure. Generally, it's used in especially math, where we might have the same instructional goal for all of our kids, the same level we get for all the kids. Some go a little further with it, but when it comes after certain levels that we need everybody to reach, that can certainly be true in social studies and science too. But when we're trying to decide, well, which different strategy do I want to use, when we choose differentiation through tiering, the thing is this is something where I'm going to expect a similar learning goal for different kids, and where I do so. It honors the idea that kids are at different levels. One way to think about tiering is think about Thanksgiving dinner or Christmas dinner, just a big feast, right? Everybody has that same, right? Everybody can picture what Thanksgiving looks like. Everybody has a slightly different view of what it's going to look like, but the ultimate goal is everybody to eat foods that they like to eat, and they walk away full, right? But we can expect a variety of readiness levels depending on our ability to cook, right? Or our ability to set up. We would know that if we were trying to teach different people how to cook Thanksgiving dinner, some would be really bored if we just sat there and said, well, let's cook a turkey, and how you do mashed potatoes, you do green bean casserole. Some would like to be a much more fancy meal than that. That would be pushing them. Right? So then, if our ultimate goal is to help somebody get prepared to make this Thanksgiving dinner, we say, okay, what parts does everybody need, right? And it might not be turkey, right? It might just be the safety, or it might just be some of the fundamental pieces. And then we've got to make sure everyone's. And you can start to see the different tiers fully emerging in terms of who needs that most advanced cooking and who needs the least. So general tiering, the first thing I look at is a standard. What am I trying to teach? Within that standard are the processes that I'm trying to teach. Because some kids may know what to do in math. They may know how to do mathematics, but they may not have the process. And so they may start with that piece of it. So we get certain skills and we want kids to come away with. And then there's some basic activity that everybody's going to have a chance to do so that we're all on the same thing. And generally, it's going to be on grade level. So we're going to give everybody a chance to do something together first. Then we decide, all right, so how do I take that concept and that task and I make it a little less complex? How do I make it a little more complex? And that then gives us our 3 tiers. So for English language learners, because we're starting with language, and often they have the content piece, they just not know how to express it. They may not get the information from us, especially if we can't share that language. So the English language learners, a lot of times, always to make it more connected. And for the lower level, we're trying to make the green size a little smaller so they don't have to take as many cognitive leaps or thinking through it as much. And increased goals helps. We're struggling to whether they're English language learners or just starting because for our grade level, we're looking at ways to make it more complex. And oftentimes, giving less direction, making things more complex with that, less structure, making it more open-ended, more creative, making them do research. So that gets us kind of how we create tiers. Then we've got to decide how we're going to do that pre-assessment piece. Is it going to be a discussion? You know, a lot of times you can determine your levels just by having a good, rich discussion with them. It can be that you need a quiz or a test. It can be that you know about a topic. There are certainly lots of ways of what a student knows and what they don't know. And then we give to their piece. There's always this yeah but moment when it comes to math. And being one of the people like this, I hope I don't offend anybody, but sometimes with this idea, but in math, everybody needs a thing. And what's interesting is in our hallways, in our own schools, we may have 3 people teaching the exact same standard, the exact same math, and they're all teaching it a different way. And so we know that it gets taught in ways, regardless of whether we plan to or not. The struggle with math sometimes is that we spend a lot of time focusing on the kids who are having difficulty, and so it's hard to imagine that there are some kids who are moving ahead faster. And sometimes, especially in middle school, we've accelerated the courses to a point where kids are looking at their challenge. So sometimes we'll build things in to try to push our kids, but I challenge us even I think that we do different things, so we know. So if you are struggling a little, how does this fit in math? That's okay. One of our rules is okay to disagree. Always do math here. But give yourself permission to kind of explore tiering. And again, since differentiation is not one particular strategy, this may be one that you use in your class. But let's look at some examples that do tend to archive. Sometimes just moment to focus. So math must draw. So these are our four topics. And again, we're not get through that every step because you're going to have these delivered to you in courier. What is most specific to you, do is give you a chance walk through them so you see how the different levels emerge. Once you decide which one you would like to play around with, either with some of your students or something with your child, or just doing yourself how different one are. So in a great feature, which is your report, your second grades, again, these are all measurements. We're looking at standard versus non-standard unit. So said that we're going to be each one with something everyone's going to listen to a story. Everyone's going to get a chance to try out their shoe print, or with their shoe print. We're going to make a visual with our height and shoe units. Is that really fair? If my feet are towards that, and then we'll look at how do we teach. So some students are going to move on towards more standard units, and other students work not simply, but stay the base of shoe units or other non-standard units. Then we have this anchor activity that goes along with it called form. This is what see handouts. I'm not going to flip over the document because I'm dragging just a little bit. And so you'll notice here that what you have are 2 levels. So we've all already read the story of the story where he asks them. It's called King's Foot. So if you haven't read the story before, you want to read K5. It's certainly well way up to 5th grade. Barry King used it, the Harper uses it, but didn't have it measured right. So find out the shape is, right? So we have a triangle, we have a square, and then we have a circle, and a star, right? So you'll notice that the sheets moving back and forth between them, they look similar, so that if 2 are beside each other, they aren't completely thrown off and say, well, how come they're doing this one, not that one? The shapes are for us to let us know which ones are more advanced and which ones are simple. So we have the cue that the triangle is the most challenging level. This would be for my high achieving kid, or my kids are ready for it. The square, the only difference between the triangle and the square, if you look closely, is the triangle students are going to actually get into that skin. ruler and how we measure things from a height or frame like that. The height pieces, they're not just going to measure better than their actual. We kind of step down, do the circle and the star. Now the circle geared for our struggling kids, right? And so they're going to make us, and they're going to do a shoe measurement. So it's like difference between estimate and guess, and they're going to, and they're still going to do how their shoe. And the star ones may give us a look at what we might do for English language learner, who they may be able to actually do the very first one, the visuals to go along. So what am I measuring? The person, I'm measuring the arm, measuring the legs, I'm measuring the teacher desk. So I'm beginning to do this is not reading test, right? I'm not checking to see if they know the different words. I'm checking is can they measure, because they may be very able to do these measurement tasks, but they just need the visual cue. So you might even for the star one want to take one that has a measure on it. You may be able to write on that. So we have a similar common experience. We're all doing the shoe cutouts, all doing a variety of measuring with our own feet. Then we're differentiating it out into what's expected. So I'm ready. Some kids are going to get done earlier than others. You can have a variety of maker activities, but this suggests one that's called just one measurement. You see here on the bottom of the sheet, we've got some little inches. So we're trying to get that connection between a visual piece and an actual inch. And those happen to be inches. Some people are just measuring in terms of handle, which is pretty helpful. And other kids are thinking about this in terms of inches. So this could be one where they go, there are some other directions for estimates or measurements. You can have them write a story about this. And at the end of this, as they're actually working through this, you'd want to be assessing the progress, right? And so you have this stage of development, and you can give these names that make sense to you. But this is a suggestion from our text here that talk about beginnings of development. They need help with procedures all the way through the advanced. They're just doing the work they're going to do with a partner and be able to cruise right through. So instead of the content behavior, it's the more process skill. So that is the K2. Then we get to jump up to kids just one day. So again, we're going to start with what's the goal, right? What do I see? So the first we're looking at being able to measure in standard or non-standard units. And now with 3 to 5, this one happens to be focused around perimeter. Could we have done measurement with 3 to 5? Absolutely. Right? We know that we're looking to measure in a variety of units. So if we just do it with K2, we adapt to work with 5. So we're looking at all the kids, what's everyone going to do? It's that real beast here, right? Everybody's going to explore perimeter. We're going to make sure they understand. We're going to off those things that kids a good baseline experience, but those kids are ready to race on at that point. Others are going to need some more work there. They're all going to figure out 100 defends. They're all going to draw in slightly different ways. An anchority could be if you design rectangular perimeter for your playground. It's a lot of pieces. That maybe try differentiate, and you figure out if we want to make that connection area. Can they start to give them the most room to play? And so giving them that chance. So you just right now, this one happens to be a less, need quite as much paper. So we're going to cut this one into strips, right? So you see the triangle, it's going to be for our most successful or high achieving students. Shouldn't say successful, everybody's being successful in life. But for high achieving kids, and our square, our circle, if we wanted to add the visual or English language learners, that could certainly be. So when you look at these, we're looking at what you notice about each of these tasks. Well, all doing step, right? If you look at a very similar process, everybody in the beginning is drawing a playground in this rectangle. So we're saying that everybody knows what it is. Now, the last one, the simplest one, asks for it to be a square. And the reason for that is that allows us to take that 1,000 feet and break it into 4 equal parts, which might be a little easier for some kids than others. Right? So if you break it into a rectangle, I've got something going on there, right? With a rectangle that has one side that's 400 feet, and then to figure out what the other. The middle group is getting the same 1,000 feet of fence and making one side 200 feet. Asking them for the other. Answering at would it be different if they had 400 feet? So the middle group is getting a little more structure. The first group is only getting one chance to play, and then they're jumping right into can they get to more of the general rule. There's a peer assessment along with this one, so I think kids do kind of review one another, about they have learned. Again, another way to show us what they know. So we see the tier and the common experience, and then building out to what our high kids going to do and what the middle kids going to do. We move into 6 to 8 for this kid a little bit more kid, I guess. But we start with the same parameters, right? We're looking for surface area. This is one that we know we're going to practice with. We're going to kids are going to grasp it. So some kids can grasp it. They struggle. We're going to get especially when we get cylinders. So all kids are going to start with 27 centimeters, right? And those are just the base. We're going to make a 3x3 cube. So we're going to know how to make 3x3 cube. And for some kids, can make it apart all the time. Let's talk about what volume is, what it is. And then can you try to connect? Can you the connection? Kids are doing all the way down in 2nd and 3rd grade, but it's one of the goals that has to develop over time. And we're going to talk all different types of solid figures. Triangular prisms get our own struggles and their own challenges, so kids can work with those. It is here above grade level of the high achievement. They encourage us to allow them to use calculators with this because it's not necessarily assessing ability to compute. We're going to get a bunch of centimeter cubes of 30. We're going to use some scissors and tape and these 3 files. First, analyzing volume, and in this one, look at find the volume of the solid figure. The triangle is the high achievement, right? So we're going to look at when you combine pieces, when you combine 2 different shapes, how does that impact the volume? What happens when we pull shapes away? So now we're closing and we're decomposing 3-dimensional shapes. And then the next part of this becomes, so let's start with that volume. Sorry, I'm in order here. So when I'm working with the volume, combine the volume of certain things. And these are kids already have a good grasp of this, so we're going to move them quickly into more of the stand. Just struggling with it, we're not going to move them that fast. Right? We also encourage them to work with their Right? So we have the net for the rectangle prism, also a filter and net for the cone, and those go along with this can go along with the activity as well. So our ungradable folks, our highest group is really working on volume, and then our on-grade group working with surface area. Right? So they're going to say 30 centimeters. Their visitors are going to get paid. They're going to build something. They're going to think of regular prisms and cylinder cones and how do those things work with one another. This is probably too much to do just in this video online. So I'll trust that if you're a middle school teacher, you'll read through these. You will see that how do I understand surface area? How to make sense of surface area? Again, surface area being something that might be easier for some kids. We definitely see some kids struggle with surface area understanding better a shape or the outside shape and not necessarily a photo. For some kids, they may be really high, but they may be mid-level grade. And then we're going to need those prisms. And below grade, we're going to be looking at, over my sheets or something, below the grade level, we're going to be looking at our volume formulas. And so looking at these from a little bit different perspective, we're going to be filling some things. They're cubes and they're getting this tape, but they're also getting uncooked rice. So you can imagine we're filling some shit, talking about how does it to fill the cone, how much it takes to fill the cylinder, experience if they're going to understand the difference in volume, especially if they're struggling with it. We're still going to work on the formulas because they're going to need to know that they're going to need to know the relationships that Pod brings this and how I'm going to use that. So we're not dismissing the math here. What we are doing is giving them a little bit more experience and a little bit of time to get there. As an assessment, again, with tiered assignments, the expectation is that all kids are coming to the same learning standard. So regardless of if you got there, we need to make sure you can do this. So this part of it is with math pretty comfortably. Sometimes coming up with tiers is a little difficult. Usually when we get back to this point, this is where we say, look, this is what everybody needs to be able to do if they're going to show me they can be successful. And then if we move up to so if we do dilations, and some of them back down in middle school too, there's some dilations we look at there. So we're looking at dilations about the origin. What we ask all the kids to do, so hopefully you're noticing that same progression. So I got to identify my standard, I got to decide what everybody's going to do, and then I've got to plan for an activity so I know the kids are going to do who get better than others. And I mentioned this, but it probably goes saying that sometimes it's going to be your high-flying kids that get other times it's going to be your struggling kids too. They may be able to work through their task quickly. So assume that an anchor activity or flying kids, not just kids who are going to get more than others. So we're going to look at these kids are doing this on the scene. So let's look at the apparatus for that here, but start with the circle, right? The below level of the struggling student. So we're going to apply graph paper and rulers, give them this D doubles, or B double, right? It gives them steps up. They're going to use their graph, they're going to draw through the order, and they're going to make marks on it. So this is one that we still require a teacher. It probably does require some group with the teacher. But what you're looking at is where's the length, where's the width, back to the concept of perimeter. What happens? How do we look at those squares in that shape? And then what happens when we make it 3 units bigger, 2 units bigger? How does that then impact our shape? So there are a number of steps. Double down. They put the first page here in this presentation. We'll pull down the file, or you're put in the area. Notice that all the way through using the concept on map and drawing a circle on a map. They've also given the table, right, to information. They're drawing a series of rectangles with different lengths and widths, and looking at what that do to perimeter and what that do to area. So those of us teaching elementary, my elementary kids do that well, not necessarily according to grid, but yeah, where it begins, right, just back in elementary school. They move on to numbers are level. They're going to get rules as well. It's called boxed in, and so hopefully you can read that in there. They're going to get their x-axis and y-axis. They're going to plot certain points on there. They're going to be looking at the horizontal distance. So not just have to have the boxes. We're not looking at using the active vocabulary a little bit more about the horizontal distance, vertical distance. They're going to plot points. They're going to find perimeter, length, area, all those pieces. And again, this one has several pages. But when you look at their recorded sheet, it's a lot the same. Right? So they're doing a very similar task. We've taken the task and said, well, how can I complexity for my struggling kids? And now let's look at what we do when we want to increase the complexity. So yeah, their direction sheet is a lot the same. But they're going to be using a graphic calculator. So every school hopefully have access where they have the calculator, and they're going to use their list features. They're going to create a variety of shapes, very abstract calculator, and start to practice how do I use this technology to find some things that might be a little more difficult to when it comes to recording it. What does my recording looks like? It's a lot less, right? So everybody ends up with the same product. They're going to have an answer there, but then they're all going to end up sharing with one, talking dilation and scale and how to scale that perimeter and area, and looking at scale factors and how that encumbers discussion. There's a lot of rich work here. It certainly isn't one of those things that you just once with things that you need lots of practice. Ultimately, we bring all to what do, all to know, be able to do about this topic. So I'm giving kids a variety of starting, and I hope it becomes apparent that this isn't just a lesson on one day. This may take, these can take time, right? Tasks take a bit of time to develop, but generally speaking, and research tends to bear out that the more in-depth and the more specific like this, more kids retain from it. So hopefully it makes it more interesting to them. If we were together, we'd now kind of pull this up and say, well, what would hearing look in a classroom? So I'll leave that to you to just think about, to ponder is teaching science. I can certainly teach a lot of math with the science, but teaching a topic. Can I take that same topic and think about what is it that I want what am I going to have everyone do? And how do I make it less complex, a little more complex, and build 3 tasks for all my kids to work through based on their needs level. Sometimes it works a lot easier in science or social studies, and sometimes it's actually harder in science and social studies. Sometimes the math is a little easier to teach than others. That gets through the topic of tiering. What I'm going to ask you to do is to choose whatever level is most relevant to you, and to work through those tasks. We'll ask you to post back in our Emoto group. Probably set up an assignment for you here. You can submit what did you choose to do, and you can comment to myself, and I'll send thoughts back as well. One of the pieces, one of the other things when it comes to differentiation is grouping strategy, right? And so, in case this helps you, I was going back through and doing a little work for the session. This work that we from a while ago from Caroline Tomlinson's research, and so the idea of clock buddies or learning buddies is based on they just have their partner, the same partner. They're probably only getting, they're probably with a real high achieving kids or struggling kids. It's not always true, but they're typically going to be friends with one another. So this invites kids to make an appointment with 12 different people. So if I'm going to appoint with Michelle Chadwick, I'd say, okay, will you be my 12 o'clock partner? She said, sure. So her talk on my paper, she would write my name on a 12 o'clock her paper. And anytime teacher would say, okay, it's time to get with your 12 o'clock or your new time with buddy. Well, now I'm not necessarily 12 different buddies. That gets to be a lot. I think some they show here with different buddies. Sometimes 4 is plenty. You have your 12 o'clock, your 6 o'clock, your 6 o'clock, and your 9 o'clock buddy. And also, if you're sitting around me, but that doesn't work exactly because my 12 o'clock buddy, their personality wouldn't work out because they would be with somebody else. So, when you think about differentiation, is important to have some of these grouping is prepared. Another about stand group. Remember we did in session 1 of homogeneous groups across the horizontal and heterogeneous groups going vertically. Another way to do that in terms of pairs is that we set them up for kids in terms of similar reactiveness level tests. So there's some qualities based upon the time on the clock. That takes a little more prep than just having kids sign up for their buddies, but it depends on how you're going to use groups within your class. So some things that Tom was about are having sort of these standing groups, right, that are about, they're surround different topics. So these are some ideas that these get with you. Please feel free to jot these down. We all need tools, and that's where we keep coming back to. So today I talk about 20 minutes about tier assignments, and that's more than if we were together because we're all sharing our own experiences and how this can exactly teach, and we've done. So I apologize for not giving you that experience, but we'll move in our next session to leveled questions as a strategy for differentiating. How do we ask questions at different levels for different kids? How do we kids to understand that we can ask questions at different levels or tasks? Remember, at our first session, we ask you to choose one of these topics, do a little research on it, and submit that as a assignment in our Emoto. Please ensure that you've done that until January 25th. Knock that piece out. If you want, there's a reason there's a column here with nothing after reading differentiation, which is there's the top strategies to innovation. Our final reminder, right, is make sure you have scheduled time for this key. Online PD can get away from it like anything else. It's a little harder to keep up with sometimes than knowing I have to be here at afternoon at 3. Do yourself a favor of doing them in a way that's you. In the same way we ask all our students, if you really invest yourself in this, I'm only giving you this assignment because I think it's valuable to you, and application you retain. I give you just to give you assignments instead of you don't do that to your students. So choose one that works for you, and then put that back in an assignment we'll have in Emoto. And we always like, it's okay to disagree. You can say, cheer, I never use it, never work in math class, I don't have any time, that's fine. We just hope that everybody continues to keep a growth mindset. Thank you again for being flexible with us for this session and for joining us here online. We look forward to seeing you in February, but we'll see you online again next time. So we hope you had a great break, super new, and that this second, I guess it was the second half of the year, is a good start for you. We'll talk soon.